100%. Yes. Yeah, they absolutely do that. And I think it's no trust in the audience, right? And that's something that I think pulp does pretty well, is that it knows their readers, right? It knows that not only do you probably know where this is headed in some sense, and I'm going to play with that, right? And that's the best part, is when people understand that we all have a common narrative and we all kind of know where stories are headed based on what you set up. And if you can twist that and if you can change that, that's where the best stories come in. Hi there. I'm Adriano Ariganello. I'm the owner, writer, letterer at Pesto Comics, and my current comic is actually from Parts Unknown. You can find me at Pesto Comics on everything online and pestocomics.com to make it even easier. And you're watching and listening to Two Geeks Talk.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. Two Geeks Talking is an entertainment industry interview show where we interview the creative people from the comic, film, TV, movie, and video game industries. And of course, I'm your host, Kurt Sasso. We're joined today by a very talented owner, writer, letterer. You know, if he dabbles into art, I wouldn't be surprised at this point here. We're joined by a multi-talented individual who has 4 comics under his belt, but we're talking about From Parts Unknown. We're joined by the talented Adriano Ariganello. I fail as an Italian there. Go figure.
Yeah. It's a mouthful. It's phonetic though, so it's
So,
not as scary as it looks. But
look, you have all the vowels. That kind of what matters, when it comes to an Italian name.
yeah, exactly. You got to get them all in there.
Exactly. Yeah. So, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm very well. Yeah, thanks for having me. I've been a fan of the show for a while, so I'm very honored to be on.
Well, I appreciate that. You've already gotten on the show, so you don't have to butter me up that much. So I appreciate that. For those that don't know anything about yourself as a creative person, tell us who you are and what you're bringing to Two Geeks Talking today.
Yeah, so my name is Adriano. I have a comic book. I won't want to call it publishing company. It's all done through Kickstarter, but it's called Pesto Comics. It's made so that it's a little easier to find than my name, which again is a little bit of a challenge if you aren't familiar with it. So Pesto Comics, I got all kinds of comics that I've been releasing under there. Have some novellas and things coming too. And yeah, so I've been working in comics for a couple of years now. I guess since 2023. Time's flying by. Yeah, and I have a lot coming, but slowly building up the catalog of all of the comics out there from all kinds of genres, sci-fi, noir, just really pulpy stuff. That's really what I'm interested in, and that's what I've been putting out. So it's been pretty good. Today we're talking about From Parts Unknown. So speaking of pulpy things, this is a pro wrestling vampire book. If you'd seen the first issue and all the promotion for that, I kept the vampire part kind of under wraps, made it a little hard to sell. Now that the secret's out there, it's basically 2 wrestlers that are brothers go to a small town, and just for a regular show is what they think is a regular show, and now they just can't leave. They're surrounded by vampires, and it's how they deal with that. So think From Dusk Till Dawn, but wrestling.
Nice. You've just hit 2 of my favorite aspects of the genres that I love the most. So I love that. That's great.
Amazing.
Good way to pitch it there. We're talking about issues 4 and 5 specifically here because you've had a great success with 1, 2, and your last campaign of 3 did extremely well. So I can't wait to see what you put on for 4 and 5 here. But you're wrapping up From Parts Unknown with issues 4 and 5. What was the hardest part about sticking the landing for this comic series? And did it end up surprising even you, or did it go exactly as planned?
Yeah, so this one I wrote more as a serialized story. All I've done in the past, I've mainly done one shots or sequelized storytelling, so that issue is a contained story in itself. But From Parts Unknown, it's 5 issues all as one big story, right? So I kind of knew where it was headed. I knew that it was going to gradually ramp up with each issue. So as we get to the final 2 issues that we're doing kind of as a double issue campaign, that's why we're talking 4 and 5. We're at the climax. This is where all the fun happens. This is where everybody knows where they stand, what side they're on, and the chaos ensues and kind of what comes from that. So yeah, nothing too surprising, but that's my own plan in it, right? It's one long story, so hopefully I kind of know where it's headed. So
I love wrestling, especially luchador. If you've ever watched wrestling, you know you enjoy the theatrics, you enjoy the entertainment value of it. Whether you believe it's real or not, that's up to you. But it is still an entertaining sense of athleticism. I think in that respect, you're using drama, you're using this athleticism, you're using the absurdity of wrestlers fighting vampires, which is still a hilarious concept too. Now, how did you walk that tightrope between keeping it grounded and letting it be as over the top as you need it to be, especially with wrestlers?
Yeah, it's really about the relationships that are built,
Mm,
right? The reason they're two brothers is, the reason I was even into wrestling in my own life is because of my brothers, right? It was a thing that bonded us. So more than anything, I really try to sell that bond between the brothers. Like they're not just a tag team; they're siblings. They're brothers that care for each other. You know, in a relationship that's deeper than just a regular friend tag team coworker situation, right? In building that, and it's a slow build, I'll be honest. That first issue, like I mentioned, you don't even know that it's a vampire book. It's just wrestlers dealing with their things, and it's brothers that are kind of dragging each other along in life, right? Like they'll be there for each other, but one necessarily doesn't want to do what the other wants to do, and vice versa. It's about really grounding the characters and then letting the exterior stuff kind of go wild around them, and it kind of builds from there. So.
How would you describe that emotional core that you're putting together for not only between the two brothers, but also the core of your entire comic series in one sentence?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, it's really about it's like bonds,
Mm,
right? A brother is your brother, right? You can't do anything about it. Like you may not have the closest relationship with them, but assuming you're not estranged, you have some kind of core bond that you've built over time that even if you over time grow apart, like you're still brothers,
mm,
right? Like you still have something that you're gonna feel for this person more than anyone else in the world. So yeah, it's really about bonds than anything, if I have to pick a word.
mm. As long as you're not pulling the whole biblical Cain and Abel type situation, that's a completely
Yeah.
different storyline, right?
It could always go sour, of course, but but it's still, it's still your brother.
The one thing I loved about your comic series is the art. The art was just beautiful. I love the colorfulness that you put together, even with the gory themes that you had there. It was still just another colorful romp from page to page, and I really enjoyed that factor here. It's like you can feel the crowd. It's like you could feel the energy of the every page, every slam, every just the energy of the comic was felt through the art itself as well as your writing too. Who's your artist, and how did you find working with this particular artist for your series?
It's a team of Daniel Caval, who's doing the art and the inks, and then I got JP Jordan doing the colors. Very different personalities, which is interesting. Daniel is very, very excited, very quick. The reason this series is even able to come out as fast as it has been is because he was right into the story on top of it. This started in November and it will be done by the end of the spring. So we're almost hitting like, big two level release schedules here, right? So, and it's unreal. I wasn't expecting that. I thought this was going to be like a 2 year endeavor. So Daniel like was very quick to jump in. I didn't give him too much direction. I the first issue was a little more specific. I want to see exactly this, blah blah blah. As I saw what he's able to kind of create from the little bit I give him, he kind of ran with it and gets more and more expressive as we go on. And again, I give him more action to play with too in the last couple issues, but he gets very inventive with all of his panels and that. And then the colorist JP Jordan has been great to work with in a totally different way. Totally surprised me with the color palette. I thought we were going with something a little more. I don't know what the word is, subdued, I
Mhm.
guess. But he went very interesting with it, and to the point that it really pops off the page. Like it's become a selling feature of the book, which is not something usually say about the coloring specifically. And I don't mean that to disparage, but usually, much like lettering, if you're noticing it too much, it's because something's wrong. But in this case, it's actually a feature. Like it makes the book what it is. It's added to the identity of it. That and JP is just the biggest hype man. Like he is out there everywhere selling the book more so than me, which I'm happy to talk about all my books all the time, and JP somehow outruns me with that. So it's been a very interesting team on this book. But I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky that I found both of them because yeah, they've been making it something much better than I could have done on my own for sure.
Speaking of something much better than what you could have done on your own here, what was the piece of artwork you got back that was just way better than what you had in the script?
Yeah, that first issue, there is a 2 page spread
Oh yeah.
of them getting in a big fight in the diner. Some description of like he punches him, he does this, but he took it to another level where I really wanted just chaos to be shown of like, you know, people flying out around, but he added all these dynamic elements like at the bottom of the two-page spread you're kind of watching from outside as all the chaos is happening within and they're throwing each other about. As much as I wanted to kind of describe the fight scene, I tried to leave some room to go really run with it. And that two-page spread was like the first time in the series, which was early on, fortunately, that I was really like, whoa, okay, this is intense. It's happened a few times since for sure, but that was the first big one that I'm like, okay, we got something here. Like this will be really cool.
So if someone reads the final issues and puts it down after they're done reading it, what is one feeling or thought you hope that they're left with?
Yeah, I hope more than anything, I hope they got some fun out of it, right? Like it's kind of a lame answer. I hope you had fun reading. But the truth is like I want to hide the depth. I want you to feel that it's a full story, but really it's pulp, right? Like that's really what I say it all the time that I want to be a prolific. I want to be like the old pulp writers where you would go without thinking about it, picking up the penny paperbacks and just really have a good time, right? I hope it resonates. I hope it sticks for longer than the one sitting you've had. But I really want you to feel like, okay, like this is something that, you know, maybe you'll come back to later. It was fun, quick, just entertainment. Just forget about the world. Let's just talk some wrestling vampires kind of situation, right? I just want people to escape. It's for the few minutes that they're going to get to with this book. That's the hope.
So what's misunderstood about the pulp genre that people who don't follow that genre misunderstand?
Yeah, people really think it's almost like it's like you think of B movies and things like that. Like it's all poorly done almost. Like because they don't have a budget, there's no heart, there's no story. It's just something to fill the time. And that's not necessarily the case, right? It's more aspect of, you know, following a genre that you do get the things you expect, the tropes that you would expect to see in a sci-fi book and even in a romance book, any of these things. But at the end of the day, those tropes are just there to build some foundation, some common language that you don't have to start over. You don't have to build all this depth because it's there because you walk in with it. You've seen a sci-fi movie before. You know what it's like to go to space, let's say, right? Like what's going to happen on a spaceship. So you don't need that explanation. You walk in with some prior knowledge and we just get to telling the story, right? This is what happens when these specific characters experience X, right? And you have the shorthand before you walk in. I think that's the joy of pulp is that we all kind of get it. We don't need it explained one more time. It's let's just get to the point. Tell me your version of this story. And I think that's a lot of the fun of it, right? Like just we've seen it. We've all been watching Netflix and all the movies and all that. We have the shorthand. Tell me what your story is now, right?
Do you find a lot of series nowadays, whether it's comics or whether it's TV or film, just either give everything away with trailers or the fact that they over explain things to the point of why am I watching this?
100%. Yes. Yeah, they absolutely do that. And I think it's no trust in the audience, right? And that's something that I think pulp does pretty well is that it knows their readers, right? It knows that not only do you probably know where this is headed in some sense, and I'm going to play with that, right? And that's the best part is when people understand that we all have a common narrative and we all kind of know where stories are headed based on what you set up. And if you can twist that and if you can change that, that's where the best stories come in. Trailers are, I think it's a difference of the creative and the marketing. Although trailers are creative in their own way, you know, marketers don't necessarily trust audiences to figure it out on their own. And it's if I have to give away the ending, then so be it, right? I think what was it, Captain America recently was the best example of that. As you're walking into the theater, there's a big poster of Red Hulk waiting for you, and it happens to be the big surprise in the end of the film. Like, it's absolutely no trust to sit and experience something. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but yeah, still happening.
I wonder if it's a combination of how media is consumed so much, the mass media is consumed as much as it is, the fact that the attention span is going down, the fact that you need to hook the audience with you see this with short content, you see this with everything like that. I think it's a trust factor with whoever you're trying to get to view the stuff, but it's also you have a 3 second window to grab someone's attention, and whether it's you have to be stupid on a video or whether you have to show your entire content, kind of defeats the purpose of being a creative person, especially in media.
Oh, 100%. Well, now you're even seeing the trailer before the trailer to really catch your attention, right? Where they can't even let you watch the trailer and experience that as a piece of art of some sort. They spoil the trailer before you get into it. I think that has been a big part of it, that like short form content. Although I don't have anything wrong with it as its own thing, but trying to take what should be a wholesome experience in a film and condense it to a 30-minute social media style short trailer is just, yeah, you need that hook because people are so quick to flip to the next thing. I
Right.
totally understand the stress of it, but it is ruining the experience overall, if we're being honest.
What was an early experience where you learned that language had power?
Oh yeah, so that's a good one. I've been a writer for a long time, right? That was always my. Of course, when I was younger, I thought I was going to be an artist, and then as I tried to do that, I see that just didn't have the willingness to fail that I did in writing, right? I felt like although I can communicate things decently in my art, I'm just not an artist, right? Like there's other people who surpass me because they're willing to do the iteration in that. Where I find in writing, I was much more willing to just fail over and over and see, okay, there's a better way to get this across. There's a more interesting way to get this across. I can use some allegory, I can use some metaphor, I can say things without saying it, right? Where art in that is a little more direct. Like what you see, there may be something behind it, but that's context and all that. With writing, you can say so much with so little. You can say something entirely different from what's actually being said. And it's that kind of magic. It's that ability to do so much with just a turn of phrase, with some reference here, something there. You can set things up, build so much subtext. It's kind of magical when you really think about it. And it's something you only learn through iteration. It's something you have to continually work at to make sure that you're actually getting these points across, that people understand and appreciate them. And it's not a direct thing too, right? It's not like you write something and somebody's like, this is how you can add subtext, right? It's something you have to develop over time, and it's like an innate sense, right? That okay, this is what I'm laying under there. This is what I'm actually talking about. And when it's done well, yeah, you don't even notice it. You don't feel the medicine going down, right? That's the best form of all this for sure.
What's an underrated aspect about being a writer in terms of either profession or in regards to the business or regards to script writing? And what's an overrated aspect of that?
Yeah, the underrated is how much of writing is actually rewriting,
Mm.
right? Like maybe it's not totally underrated because anybody who's in a writing circle understands that the first draft is the easiest draft. That's the fun part. That's where you're just getting the story out there. Nobody's stopping you if you're doing it right, right? Like you're just throwing it all out there, seeing what sticks. And then the editing is 80% of actual writing, right? Like you've done the fun part and now it's the grind. Now it's making it make sense, making it actually readable and enjoyable. And that's really what writing is. It's unfortunate because it's not the fun part, right? So I guess that's the underrated. The overrated is everybody sees what's happening out there with the biggest writers, but that's 1%, right? Like writing is a grind. It's just the truth of it. Like if you want to have any level of success, you have to be writing all the time. And I know people hate hearing it, especially nowadays with the social and hustle culture and all that. But there is some truth to it. Like if this is what you want to do, it's what you're going to be doing. You're not going to get oh, I wrote a novel and now I'm on the beach for 2 years while I think of the next one. Right? That's the movies. That doesn't happen. You wrote something, you almost forget about it while you're writing the next thing. It always takes time. The writing is always the first piece. So with comics, let's say I send the script over to an artist and I'm already working on the next thing because it's going to take them a while to get back to me with that comic, right? So it's that there's no rest. As much as you could sit and wait, I mean, if you're doing well otherwise, sure, but in writing itself, writing is writing. You have to be writing constantly. I don't know if that fit that under overrated, but I'll go with those two.
Fair enough. I like that. What's the second wisest piece of advice you've received about writing or storytelling that completely changed how you approach your work?
Oh, that's a good one. Okay, so I have an example. Recently, I was in a anthology. It's from TO Comics. It's called The City We Chose. So it was a small, like 8-page story about my my grandfather. I thought I was coming in with a lot of depth and a lot of heart. And really, what I was missing was I had the background, but it was kind of showing that background. And again, I talked about pulp where people come in with the tropes, people totally understand it. But as I was going a little more literary, I forgot that, you know, you have to somehow show, you have to open up a bit more. You have to show your heart when you're writing a lot, right? You have to be able to express your point, especially when you're talking about 8 pages of comics, which is, not very much space. It sounds like a lot, but it's not quite. So it's being able to really open up and not be so guarded. I'm a pretty open person. Like I can talk endlessly about anything you want. But in my writing, I do try to like stick to format, stick to this and that, but you have to understand the core of your story to try to get it out to people properly, right? So I found that more on the literary side. Pulp, you do have guardrails, you do have things that'll make sure that you're staying on track and your story is getting told. But when you don't have that and you're kind of just open out there, you're just telling a story, you do have to really have something to tether to and understand the core of the story you're trying to tell, right? So I say it's about my grandfather. What's the story really about? Right? In this case, it was about a fisherman coming to Canada from Italy, feeling a bit resentful that he came and it was not what he expected. I thought that was the story, but the story was really about not just expectations, but about relationships, about another theme of brothers. It's his brother that convinces him to come over, telling him it's come to Canada, you'll live a life you've never dreamed, and he comes, it's not exactly what he expected. And it's kind of accepting that he can blame everyone around him for his situation, but he has to take some responsibility for what he's in and deal with where he's at and move forward, right? Where it's kind of him wallowing, saying, this is not what I was promised. And eventually he figures out, okay, I can do something about this. I can be the active participant in my own life. And that was really the core. But again, it was just like oh, what happened to my grandfather? He came to Canada and he was like, oh shucks, living on the beach in Italy was pretty nice. I should have had a second thought about that. So so yeah, it's really finding the core is key in any writing, but especially when you don't have guardrails kind of holding you in.
The Canadian comic culture has always been fascinating for me. And me being a fellow Canadian, you kind of have to be invested in the comics field or entertainment for that matter here. How has the comic culture changed in the recent decades regarding either yourself as a reader transitioning to becoming a writer, or what have you seen at various conventions that have kind of sparked your interest in the Canadian culture of comics?
So me coming into it, I'm always surprised one how big specifically in Toronto
Mhm.
the comic culture is. It was very welcoming and very kind of easy to get into in a sense of like if you have something to show that you're serious about it, right? That you're not just doing this on a whim, like hoping to get hired by DC because you have an idea for Batman, like everyone does, right? It's it's like you're serious and you're building your own comics and you want to tell specific stories. You're more than welcome to kind of join the community. Everybody's very friendly and very happy to kind of bring you on board. And it runs the gamut. Like I've had help from all levels of people, not just at my level, but true professionals that I would think are inaccessible and are so far beyond my level that they would never waste the time to talk to me. But again, if you're showing that you're serious and you want to do this, like everyone's more than happy to help, which was absolutely wild. But if we're talking about conventions and that was always your best opportunity to meet these people. Walk up to almost anybody and have a quick conversation. But now I'm finding that the culture is kind of, although it's grown in a sense, and it's bigger than ever. You go to Fan Expo Canada here in Toronto, it's gigantic, right? It's like 150,000 people for 4 days. It's like nothing else. Like it was very similar to San Diego, which I thought was very shocking. I thought San Diego was going to blow my mind, and it's like it's pretty much what we got here. So very impressive in that sense. But part of that is because it's expanded well beyond comics, right? So comics is still kind of, it never grew. It's still in the corner, about the same size it used to be. It's everything around it that grew, right? So lots of people know Spider-Man, lots of people like Spider-Man. They're at Comic-Con, but they're there because PlayStation's there and they want to be there for the game and they don't necessarily care about the comics. So it's kind of like it's grown but it hasn't. And that's the frustrating part. So everybody's sitting at their table hoping to get those people that are just here for the video games, those people that are just here for the anime, and hoping that they'll come by and maybe take a chance on a comic. But I think it's still the same core group of fans that are there. Comics people are comics people, and as much as you might want to say that it's grown, I think we're still kind of the same people. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's
yeah.
become an entertainment industry in itself. It's not just comics. It's entertainment, it's TV film, it's, you have the actors panels, you have the east side of, or the north side or whatever of the convention itself is just for signing.
Hmm.
With the occasional cosplay thing, you have everything kind of grouped into different sections, and it's what do you want to view in those first 4 days? It's crazy. Like I've gone there years and years and years, and it boggles my mind when you can get 100,000 people a day just packed in that thing, and you have so much to see and not enough time to see it all.
Absolutely, and it's beautiful in a
Yeah,
way. I mean, I'm not. I may sound like I'm complaining that everyone's not there for comics,
right.
but but the truth is, like, having people there that are passionate about anything is just, it's a vibe that you can't replicate anywhere else, right? Like, it's a wonderful feeling that people are so open to just saying, you know what, I love this so much. I'm going to dress as my favorite character, and I'm going to go, do this for the weekend. It's something that, 20 years ago was even then, yeah, the conventions and that were starting up, but it's not what it is today. Today, it's a industry in itself. So yeah, it's been really cool to see.
Jumping back into Pesto Comics here, we haven't really talked about your business in a sense because it's we've been hitting everything else, so that's fine. You have a unique vibe when it comes to the various comics that you've created. Naked Kaiju Woman, Crazy Latte Thing Called Love, which is a great title, by the way. I love that. Stay Cool, and Unlimited Udo. You've dabbled in these different genres of horror, wrestling, slice of lifestyle. What's a genre or style you haven't tried yet, but you are dying to tackle?
Yeah, I have this one. So it's romance.
Oh,
It's weird, but so I kind of did it. I lied to you. If you go to read Crazy Latte Thing Called Love, based on the title and based on the imagery I share, I always say that it's like, it's kind of a romance, but it's not. And if you read it, it's a one-sided romance, is how I kept selling it. But it's not a true romance. Like, a true romance is your two main characters, you know, that meet but don't quite click, and it's them finding each other over time, right? Like, it's a pulp genre. It has its tropes, and it has its way of doing it. And I've been with my high school sweetheart my whole, since high school, right? So I have that side of me that's like, I enjoy a good rom-com. I enjoy, some of these shows that are out there, the odd Hallmark movie, although those are kind of rough to watch sometimes.
yeah.
So I really enjoy the genre. I'm actually a fan. I just haven't dabbled in it because, especially when you're talking about comics, I don't know about the market for it. It's kind of tough. As much as I'd like to experiment, it's something that I have to have some audience out there that I think might pick it up. That said, I want to try. I'm gonna give it a shot. So yeah, romance is the one that I haven't done properly yet. I toyed with it with one book, but I haven't done a proper and correct romance story that actually ends with the happily ever after. That's what I want to get to at some point.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We'll see how it goes, and just make sure you do your market research and kind of go from there.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the most surprising or unexpected reaction you've gotten from a reader? Like something that made you go, wow, I never thought of it that.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, yeah. So let's talk about Crazy Latte Thing Called Love. So that book, I don't want to spoil it too much, but again, I said it's a one-sided romance, right? And if you think of one-sided romance, there's a particular type of person that would have a one-sided romance, that would believe that something is so possible when the other person doesn't know they exist, right? And in building that character, I thought I was making it super clear that that is the intent. The feelings weren't necessarily replicated. One of the reactions I got was, he's coming off as kind of a creep, which is, yes, correct. I was like, they wanted to like this character so bad, right? And that wasn't the intention. I knew that what I was doing was working, right? I got my point across, but it was their own, whatever they were coming in with. I don't know if they identified with this character or what, that they felt almost betrayed. That it's like, why does everybody think this person's a creep? And it's like, because they are. That was the idea, right? So when I was writing the book, I mentioned I was watching it. Kind of the idea, the germ of the idea was an interview from Penn Badgley from You, the show You on
Mm,
Netflix.
yeah.
He was complaining that everyone loves his character, right? Like, his character is awful. He's an evil man, and why does everyone love him? And well, it's because he's the main character, and two, he's played by Penn Badgley. So It's going to happen that people are going to, kind of fall for him in a way. But he was kind of frustrated that he's like, I'm playing an evil character. I don't want people to like him. So I thought, well, what if it was a character that doesn't have that suave, that doesn't, you know, isn't the heartthrob of the book, that they are who they are. They're a creeper, right? And that's what I was going for, and majority of people got it. But yeah, I got one reaction specifically that was like kind of disappointed that it went that way. They still seem to like the book, but they just thought like, almost like are you sure that's what you wanted to do? To which the answer was absolutely. That was the intent. So that was very surprising, but it wasn't done in malice. It wasn't a negative reaction. It was an interesting one. So I was happy to go back and forth on that one for sure.
Is that the ending you really wanted? Like,
Yeah.
are you sure? Like, you could change it. It's still time, but it's printed. What are you doing?
Right, and I think it's that it's the if you're going in as if thinking it's a romance, where's my happily ever after, right? And if you read it, technically it's there, but just not in the way you may expect, right?
You've been self-publishing through Kickstarter. You mentioned that earlier on here, and I think that's a great way, especially for independent comic creators, to get their names out there, to get their content out there, and to build up their audience. Social media helps as well too. So yeah, obviously you're pushing it in many different avenues. What's one thing you've learned about the business side of comics that you wish you'd known when you started?
Yeah, it's very expensive. It's very expensive. Even if you're kickstarting, there's a lot that you have to put in ahead of time, right? So although you can mitigate some of the risk and some of the cost by just getting a few pages done and throwing it up on Kickstarter and seeing if people are interested, at the end of the day, like the costs ramp up very quickly. So you always hear like, if you want to make comics, just make them. That's much easier said than done. You have to have some kind of budget set aside if you want to do it, um, you know, in a professional manner. If you want it to look like a comic that doesn't look out of place on the shelf at your LCS, like it should fit fine in between Daredevil and Batman, right? Like that's the level you want to hit. It costs money, right? It costs money to do that, not just in hiring artists and getting the correct software. So that if you want to letter yourself or you want to do whatever, you need software that does that correctly. You can try with the open source stuff. It's a little more challenging. And then just printing, you do need ads because cutting through the noise is very difficult, especially when you're just starting out. So you do want to be able to get your name out there somehow and get people on board. Yeah, it's money. That's the answer. You have to be willing to invest in yourself. I know for some it's easier said than done, but it's the truth of it. So if you're not using money, the alternative is time. If you can't hire artists, well, you better become an excellent artist on your own, right? And truthfully, we only have so much time, especially doing this as a second job, right? Like this isn't my full-time day one type thing, right? I have a regular day job, and that makes it possible for me to go out and hire all the artists that I want to hire. And I've been very lucky getting all different kinds of excellent artists from all over the place. But I only do that because I can speak professionally and say, I would like to commission you to work on my book. What is your rate? I can match that. If I walk in and say, hey, you want to split the profits? Like that's not gonna that's not gonna get at least the level of artists that you want on board, because most artists are serious at what they're doing. They're probably doing it full time themselves because art is a totally different endeavor that takes that amount of time. So if you're expecting someone working full time in this to devote any time to it, you better be ready to pay them. So yeah, creating comics very expensive. That's the that's the short end of it.
Everyone has one person that inspired them on their path to where they are today. Who is that for you?
Yeah, it's corny, but it's my mom. It's so my mom's a baker. She makes like wedding cakes and things, but this is not something she started as a young person. She was a bookkeeper when I was growing up, but she's always been into the whole wedding culture and all that stuff. She just decided to go take a course one day at a nearby bakery. They were doing like, hey, learn how to make a cake. And it built from there. She built a proper business. She has done the wedding cakes for most of my friends, most of my brother's friends. Like she has built a sustainable business later in life. And it's something that really inspired me because although I'm not so old, I am middle-aged, right? And I thought for a while you start to think like, man, okay, like I guess I'm set. This is my life now. I've always been writing and dabbling and getting short stories out there and entering screenplay contests and doing all that kind of business, but I didn't take the dive into comics again, expensive. Now I'm in a position that I can do it. I'm in my middle age because of her, and seeing that she was able to jump into something and make it successful and really make it real. That inspired me. It's like, okay, like there is no time limit on this. There's no date that you are deemed too old to start, right? Like if you're serious about it and you try and you put all your effort into it, you can really make a go of anything if you're willing to do what it costs to do it.
From a professional standpoint, you've created 4 amazing comics. You're wrapping up your amazing series from Parts Unknown, and I can't wait to see what you create in the future. It means you have to come back on and talk more about what you're going to be creating too. I'm happy to have you on always for sure there. So from a professional standpoint, you are successful. Do you consider yourself personally successful?
Oh, that's a tough one. I wrestle with every day. It depends on the morning you ask me. Some days I feel like, okay, like this is real. I'm making it. I've had instances where I'm listening to podcasts and my name pops up. And that's only like ones that I'm not on, obviously. And my name pops up and it's like, okay, like I feel like this is working. Like people are starting to get to know me. My name is getting out there. And those days I truly feel like a success. But others, sometimes, especially during a Kickstarter campaign, there's the dead zone. That's like it's almost inevitable. I've only had one series, which was Naked Kaiju Woman, that did not have a dead zone. Usually, it's very big at the beginning, and then crickets for the middle section, and then very big at the end. And during that period of crickets, I always wonder if I'm doing the right thing, if this is a good idea. And then fortunately, there's that surge at the end that makes me feel a little better about it. And even knowing that it's coming, those days where, you get zero backers, you get -1 backers, right? Those days, it's like, okay, am I making a horrible mistake in all of this? But on the whole, I do think things are going well. I would say I'm not where I want to be, but I'm getting there. I see the path, and I think I'm still on it.
I feel the same way when I get negative subscribers on YouTube. Just like, what the
Yeah,
fuck did I do wrong? Come on.
it always hurts a little bit, right?
The reverse of success is failure. How do you deal with your failures?
Yeah, it's so you mentioned IT. I also work in IT for the big hospitals here
Mm.
downtown, and so failure is something that wasn't tolerated in IT. Obviously, in a hospital, failure can be very drastic, very dire. That said, it kind of built up a metal or resolve in me that's like, even though you can fail, like that's not the end of the story, right? Like if something goes wrong, because it always does, even in a hospital things go wrong, but it's about finding the answer. Okay, this path is closed, what's the next one, right? Like you don't just throw your hands down and say it's over, I've ruined it, I can't do this anymore. You find another way, right? It may not be the way you thought, it may not be as easy as you thought, but you just find a way to get it done anyway. I've certainly felt that many times. Everything just didn't go as I wanted. I've dumped money into ads and seen zero return on one campaign. I've I've had campaigns that I thought were going to be terribly successful. I haven't had any fail yet, knock on wood, but maybe didn't blow people away the way I thought they might have. And it's just like, okay, this I can come back from this. I can adjust. I can do better. And it's having that mindset that really gets you through failure, but it's an inevitable thing. Like it's going to happen, and it's how you handle it that matters.
Yeah, there's always 4 ways to solve an IT problem. There's always 4 ways plus to solve any problem in life.
Yeah, exactly.
But turning it off and on again works out well. So
More often than not, and everyone says they've done it, and they never have.
yeah,
Right?
exactly. Karen, why do you have your password under your keyboard? That's against our safety policies.
It's under the keyboard, not on the monitor.
Yeah.
But
The younger generation is looking at your work and becoming inspired to be creative in their own way, whether it's as a writer or a business owner or whatever the case may be. Maybe you're inspiring them down that path. How can they inspire the generation that follows them?
I think being transparent is pretty important, right? Like I'm pretty open, although I don't share everything all the time, right? Like I'm not giving you every single dollar that's going in and out. I am pretty open about the realities of all of this, right? And it's not to scare people away. Like, so I'm a film school kid. I went to the Toronto Film School. On the first day, what happened was one of the professors, teachers, whatever you call them in that kind of school, is came in and said, only one or two of you in this whole class are actually going to make it. which was great after you had just paid your tuition and was ready to start your new venture into into film.
Yeah.
They weren't wrong, but I think there's a better way to tell that story, which isn't just, hey, you're gonna fail and they're gonna like scare you into it somehow. It's the, this is what it takes to succeed, right? And even then, it's not guaranteed, of course. Like, what do they say? Luck is opportunity meeting preparation. Like, but you have to do that preparation part. That's the key. You have to do everything you can so that if an opportunity comes, you are ready to take it. In my early film career, I won't even call it that because it was short and didn't last very long. I didn't get that lesson, maybe because of the way it was delivered. That I had opportunities that came to me, but I wasn't ready in that way, right? I thought I was being accommodating when folks would come to me with work. They say, "What is your goal? What do you want to get to?" And I said, "Anything, anything. I just want to get in." And that's the worst answer you can give, right? It shows that you don't have a focus, you don't have a plan. That someone told me that sooner. Like, know what you want. That can change. You don't have to do that one thing forever, but showing people that you know what you want and taking steps to get there is what's going to get you not only that opportunity, but the opportunities all around it. So it's really knowing that there's work to be done and being willing to do it. And just because you're going down a path doesn't mean you're stuck on that path forever, but you should be on a path, right? And building towards something to get everything else that comes with it, right?
If your life was a comic book, what would its title be? And what would its soundtrack be?
Oh. There's what I might want it to be, and then there's what it is. That's a good one. Title. Tempted to go with something like sad, but I'm a pretty happy guy, right? I don't know, pretty happy guy. I'm gonna go with that. Pretty happy guy. I could be grumpy. I could be kind of curmudgeon about things. I could be all that. But on a whole, I'm just happy to be here. I realize how privileged I am. I have a decent job. I've met a lot of cool people in the comics realm. I've had a lot of people who are willing to support and help, and that just makes me a pretty happy guy. In terms of soundtrack, I mean, oh man, yeah, it'd have to be something really poppy and really happy, like a sunshiny day kind of thing, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Like, just maybe I'm just feeling really good this morning, I don't know. But I feel like, yeah, things are always looking up. Like, I'm just a pretty happy guy. I'm struggling with a song title, but I have the tune in my head and I'm not going to sing for you, so
Oh, good. I'm glad that makes both of us. So,
yeah.
well, Adriano, I do hate to say, but that ends this particular episode of Two Geeks Talking. I want to thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Where can we find you? How can we support you? And anything else you would like to promote? Where's the Kickstarter for issues 4 and 5? And let's have you back on.
Right on. Yeah, I'd be happy to be back. And yeah, where you can find me. So the easiest thing, pestocomics.com. Everything is there. If you don't like going to direct websites for some reason, at Pesto Comics on almost every social. I'm on Blue Sky, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. Um, Pesto Comics. I make it easy. Well, there's one thing that you got to find me on. As far as Kickstarter goes, so from Parts Unknown, if you search that, you will find all of them there. But you can get all of them with the latest one. So that's From Parts Unknown 4 and 5. I'm combining them as a double issue kind of thing to end it really with a bang. It's two separate issues, but I'm going to get them all out because I want people to read it in the ready. So why not? So if you search that, From Parts Unknown, look for From Parts Unknown 4 and 5. And then the other thing too is you can do from dash parts dash unknown dash 4. It'll pop up in Kickstarter that way if you use that as the URL. But make it easy on yourself. Pestocomics.com. I'll have a link and I'll send you right there.
Awesome. I love it. Well, like I said, that ends this particular episode of Two Geeks Talking. You can, of course, find this interview and 1,200 plus others. Not on our website because that's borked. So I'm still working on that one. Go figure. Taylor is an IT guy, right? No, it's a back end thing. But you can, of course, find these interviews on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/TGT Media. The podcast you can find at twogeekstalking.podbean.com or just search Two Geeks Talking. That's TWO. Do not go to the number 2. Look, use your words, people. It's TWO, Geeks Talking. It's in my everything. I've been doing this for 16 years. Two Geeks Talking. Find it where you get your podcasts. And as I say every week, everyone has a story to tell. It's up to me to help bring that out. Thanks for listening and watching on Two Geeks Talking.